Mike and Bruce, you seem so zen-like in your videos. Yeah. I realize that some of that is editing. Yes, indeed. Some of it is editing, and some of it is you just being in your happy place. This is true. Have you ever been so frustrated with a build that you had to stop and maybe even move on to something else? If so, what caused the frustration? What caused the frustration? That's one part. How did you overcome it and start back up? Are there any looming over you now? The best part of your channel is that you show your whole process, including your screw-ups. You see them as opportunities, as one should, but not all of us do. I'm curious if one ever got the better of you. Sure. I'm so totally sure one has gotten the better of me. Have I ever been so frustrated with a build that I had to stop? Yes. Actually, that happens on many builds. Sometimes it's only for like an hour. I've also had... You remember at the beginning of this live stream, I was talking about cutting this vault door, and I was talking about making a mistake that would cause me to have to throw out this whole piece of aluminum. That is exactly the kind of mistake that if I was on the lathe, set this up to cut this, executed it, screwed up the piece, and it's like anytime after 3:30, I'm probably gonna go home. I'm probably just gonna like I'm not even gonna wrap up or sweep up. I'm just gonna go like turn out the lights and I'm gonna go home. And that happens maybe a couple times a month, once a month. It's just like a screw up late in the day. I don't have the mental wherewithal to tackle this right now. I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm bored with this problem. I wanna move on to the next thing. I'm in the wrong state of mind for problem solving. So yeah. How did I move on? I went home. This is a frequent one. I'll go home or I'll sit in my club chair and sulk for a little while, think about it. Maybe sometimes I'll look for a palette cleanser, like I'll just choose a drawer and make it better. I'll choose a shelf and throw some stuff out, or I'll find a bin and put something that's been sitting on the table for a while. I get all these lamp parts because I'm making a lamp as a side project. And like, I've got enough now that they need a bin. So that's the kind of, I will do a little project like that, find a bin, label it, put it somewhere as a palette cleanser after I've screwed something up. We talk a lot about failure on this channel. We have over 25 demerit badges we have produced, and we are still designing more. And failure, and its long tail is a regular point of discussion on Tested. And I think in a lot of YouTube channels, there are a lot of YouTube channels that talk about the ways in which they screw things up. I love when Marcus Hornberger will show you something beautiful and be like, dude, here are the 20 versions that I messed up, cursing every single time. But I've been lately thinking about failure, and I feel like we need a little tiny bit of a rhetorical shift in talking about failure, because I think we still talk about it as like something. We talk about it in ways that make it seem like it is still not quite intrinsic to the process, and it is intrinsic to the process. You can absolutely do a build where there are no failures. That is totally possible, especially if you've built something many times before. Executing another one, non-trivial, not a problem, trivial. But in executing real problem solving, failure is not just an option, it is required. We were polling Tested members about what we should call the 25 demerit badge bundle. And my favorite answer is call it a supervisor's bundle. And I have said this to people with lots of years in their industry, and I said, okay, call it the supervisor's bundle. And they go, oh yeah. Like everyone does it. Oh, yeah. Because you're a real supervisor, it means you have made all the mistakes the people working under you are going to make, are actively making, are thinking about making, and will make. That is how to be a proper supervisor. And I have worked with supervisors who don't think that they've failed. So I really appreciate you talking about showing the process. It is one of the regular refrains I get on the lines at the Comic Cons, and I really appreciate it because we got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. It's important to talk about. It's like someone once said, oh, you know what? If you're going to live with somebody, it means you're sharing your life with them, even if it's just a roommate. And when you are sharing a life in proximity to another person, they're going to see all the aspects of that life. They're going to see the good stuff. They're going to see the great stuff. They're going to see the bad stuff. They're going to see the dumb stuff. And that's just going to come out. And it's also going to come out in every build. The great Brandino says, I'm a software developer by trade. Sometimes the hardest problems to solve have the easiest solution once you figure out the issue. What was a seemingly impossible problem on any of your projects that ended up having a very simple solution? This is a really fun one, and it's like a superhero origin story in my developing mind of being able to see things from a slightly wider perspective. So it is 1990. I am working at George Coates Performance Works, C-O-A-T-E-S. GCPW was a early San Francisco experimental theater company doing some radical, beautiful stuff. Really, really beautiful theater. And there was a show we were making called The Architecture of Catastrophic Change. And the key set piece of this was this massive ramp that was, I think, 16 feet long, 16 feet wide at its base, 10 feet wide at its top, and it could lift and lower on the stage. So it could be a ramp for walking from the second level down to the first. It could be raised on chain motors. It could go up. And this ramp ended up being this way in which we transformed the stage in multiple different scenarios. Now, George Coates himself was a force of nature. And one afternoon, he comes to us at like 2 o'clock, and this is when the Architecture of Catastrophic Change is actively running. So to give you an idea about this theater company, there's about 40 people working there full time. This theater company is running their show Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And the running of the show is making the theater company, I think, just shy of about 18 grand a week. And that was exactly their payroll. So we're running on this like shoestring budget, kind of like just keeping things running. And George comes to the crew at the like 2 o'clock, and the show time is, curtain goes up at 7:30. 2 o'clock he comes in, he's like, I want another ramp. I want a ramp under the ramp. And when the ramp comes up, I want to see people lying on another ramp that's under the ramp. And so Mike Mood and I, we jump in, we got a bunch of dollies, we build some 2x4s, we build a framework, we build this ramp, and we put it in place, and it's like the size of the original ramp, but down by 2 feet in every dimension, and we put it in place where we think it's gonna be. And it's now like 5:30, right? We have 2 hours till curtain time. And we put the ramp that we've built, we rolled it into place, and we lower the big ramp down. And there's supposed to be a whole bunch of people on this ramp when the ramp comes up. They'll reveal that the movable ramp goes up. And now on the ramp that we just built, you'll see a bunch of people. These people are a bunch of South African a cappella singers under the name Zulu Spear. 8 South African gentlemen with the most beautiful voices. Think of Ladysmith Black Mambazo. Zulu Spear, wonderful group to work with. And so they're going to be splayed out on this ramp. But when we put the ramp in place for the rehearsal and we lower the big ramp, there's no space between them. And if you put people on it, they would be crushed. What do you do? And this happens, and we look at this and we're like, oh my God, there's a huge disaster. The big ramp doesn't allow any room on the small ramp. What are we gonna do? And somebody looks at me and they're like, I'm gonna go get the Sawzall. You start making marks. Let's cut 10 inches out of this. And everyone's like just about to run. And I went, wait. And everyone looks at me and I go, push the small ramp back. And everyone went, oh. I'm not telling this story to make it seem like I was super smart in this situation. It would have occurred to everybody within another 30 seconds. This wasn't the case in which I was the one sane head in this group of heads. It was that we were all run very thin in the middle of production. and couldn't see the forest for the trees and forgot that, yeah, the relationship between ramps could be shifted very easily by moving one on the lateral. And yeah, it still gives me joy to think of that reaction, because it was a very filmic kind of where everyone felt a little bit dumber. Because that's reality. I mean, that totally happens at work.
Thank you for watching that video. Are you as sick of the tosses to membership as I am? Good, because here's a brand new one that I recorded today, and it's nice and short. There are 3 tiers to Tested membership, and they all offer awesome stuff. Find out about it by clicking the join link below. We'll see you there.